It's happening. Hey, salud.
Como? Welcome to Dos Amigos.
Welcome to Dos Amigos.
You know, that's how we do things.
Yo soy Freddy Rodriguez.
I am Wilmer Valderrama. So here we are.
Here we are.
Salud.
Salud.
Hey, what are you sipping on there?
You know, a little water for now. Are we switching up in a little while?
Yeah, we'll probably switch. We'll switch it to guns. You know,
Because it's apropos. We are in your speakeasy.
Yes,
And,
we are.
and for those of you out there who can't really see this magnificent space, this is Wilmer Valderrama's wonderful speakeasy. I mean, this thing is pretty impressive. I hope that one day we just get to kind of put the camera around. But there's this awesome bar over there.
Hey, Aaron, you want to introduce yourself a bit?
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's going on, y'all? My name is Aaron. I'm a producer for Dos Amigos. Consider me your third amigo for today's episode. I'm over here, and if you have any questions or things that the audience out there wants to ask any of our wonderful gentlemen a question, I'll be here to present it to you all. But I'm excited for the journey, and yeah, let's have a good time.
Yeah, Aaron.
Wilmer, I want to know what the inspiration was behind this thing. And I'm every time I come here, I never want to leave.
Me too.
I love it so much.
Nobody can get me to go anywhere anymore.
What was the inspiration? Like, what made you design it like
I gotta
this?
say, I think Timothy Alton it discovered me, right?
Yeah,
I mean, everybody knew
yeah.
about this guy for a very long time, and I discovered him late. And I just love that every single one of his pieces said so much, and every piece had an opinion about itself.
Like, how would you describe his style?
It's
Timothy
like
Alton,
vintage
for those who
new,
don't-
but it's really vintage,
new,
but it's
yeah.
made new, right?
Yeah.
He also uses vintage artifacts and then gives it new purpose, right? Like there's just stuff like that, and it's just really, you know, the deep colors, you know, they felt, I don't know, it felt like something I've never had before, and it felt aspirational to me, you know, in many ways. And but yeah, so I got my first lamp from him, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then it turned into a couch, and then it turned into a table, and then it turned into like an artwork, and then it's just like started spiraling
snowballed
from
from
there.
there.
But I'm like a Timothy Alton double RL guy, you know.
Yeah.
So I love that stuff. Is my
It's very indicative of the style. I mean, even like this, like, I don't know if y'all could see it. Wilmer has this wonderful kind of bronze tin roof here, ceiling, should I say?
yeah. See.
It's wonderful, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was definitely like this experiment, and you know, imagine telling your lady that the room downstairs is
It's
going
gonna be the
to become
man
something
cave. It's
that
gonna
matches
be
not the house, you know.
You even have a stage there, man. And
Yeah, we have a little
what-
piano there. We have Sheila
Yeah.
E's bongos there. I
Sheila
think
E's
one day we'll have
bongos.
Sheila E come in and do her thing,
that'd
you
be
know.
terrific.
And, well,
You ever
look-
had people perform on that stage?
Yeah. I think Leo Clem, who's one of our executive producers at WB Sound, he's just an incredible producer. He's done some beautiful work with WB Sound. And you know, we had a little birthday here, and Jessica Acevedo, who is another one of my partners in the company, and Leo, they always go far and beyond to like force me to celebrate stuff, because I never feel like I have time to celebrate things. But we have a little piano there. We have Sheila E's bongos that she gave me for my birthday and stuff. So I love this. I love music. I love this corner. It's
I mean,
really
you
cool.
could have like a full band up there, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this reminds me of a space that I would see like in New York somewhere, like downtown.
I think so. You know, I
just
feel
has
like it
this,
all has a. You know, if you talk about the Wallace cover in newspapers.
What's that about?
So my friends found this guy who was selling 30 years of headlines. Real newspapers.
30 years of headlines.
He was selling them for $100. So he
For
just
the whole bundle?
Yes, he just wanted it out of his garage. So
Yeah.
I bought the whole thing, and then I said, you know, what about if we put it on the walls? And so we have like headlines from, you know, Mike Tyson, Mike Tyson in the ear, and
Right.
you know the '84 Olympics. You know, Kobe Bryant joining the Lakers.
Wow, 84. He had
yeah.
the 84 Olympics newspaper.
Yeah. And yeah, so that became kind of the wallpaper of the room, and he just felt like the whole place had an opinion. But speaking of opinions, you know, we started.
You and I have some.
Yeah, we
It's kind of why we're here.
We do it. It is kind of why we're here. How did we do this? Like, what
How
happened?
did we do this?
Oh yeah, that's right. Welcome to Dos Amigos.
Oh, yes. Welcome to Dos
This
Amigos.
is a podcast where you explore the many topics that run through Freddy's and my head.
Our brains, so that you can get a sense of what it's like when Wilmer and I get together and we just talk, and all of a sudden it's like 3-4 hours later.
Yeah. Well, perfect segue into like how did we ended up here with microphones and a speakeasy, and like how did this happen?
Yeah. I feel like there was a lead up to that day, though, because Wilmer and I have known each other 25 years or so. And I found that every time that you and I got together, whether we're on a plane to London or whatever,
Yeah.
it's always like 5, 6, 7 hours of us just talking, and it always seemed so seamless. It didn't seem forced or anything. And so I always felt like that was the foundation of why we came here today. However, that leads us to the night we got together. We had a group text between myself, Wilmer, and shout out to Jay Hernandez.
Jay Hernandez, our brother.
Jay Rock. And we had a group text, and for like a year we kept saying,
We
hey
gotta go
man,
to dinner.
when are we getting together?
Yeah, we gotta
when
get
are we getting
together.
together?
Yes,
When are we getting together? Finally, it was the strike, right? And it was Jay goes, come on, I know none of you bastards are working. So let's go and have dinner.
Yeah.
And we finally did it, and we got together. And what was that wonderful restaurant?
We went to Carlitos Gardel. It's an Argentinian restaurant on Melrose, my favorite steakhouse in
Yeah,
Los
so
Angeles.
good,
I
man.
highly recommend visiting. Beautiful, family owned. The mom is still doing all the desserts.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
didn't
so
realize
everybody
that.
who you
Yeah.
met was
They're all
related.
part of the family.
Yeah, they're brothers, and
No
you
way.
know, it's beautiful. And it's been there forever. I mean, it's like this hidden gem in Los
Yeah.
Angeles. It's amazing. But so we ended up showing up, and we said, hey, you know what? 6 o'clock dinner.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're old.
Like 3 old men. 6
Yeah,
o'clock
like at 6
dinner.
o'clock, we can go to bed early. Cut to, 2:30 in the morning. We're still talking and
Jeez.
close to joining, and we're on Melrose telling your mama some fat jokes. Like, it got to a point where we just started talking about anything.
Okay, hold on. Did everybody hear that? We were on Melrose at 3 in the morning telling your mama jokes. So you could imagine the cars that were passing by, and we're watching
Like, what
Wilmer
are these
Valderrama,
three?
Jay Hernandez, and Freddie Rodriguez
Yeah,
looking like
the
three
Stooges.
three
Three Stooges on Melrose.
three delinquents
Yeah.
on Melrose at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Which is a quick shout out to Wilmer, the first show he produced called Yo Mama, which I was an incredible fan of. And as we're there on Melrose, I brought it up, and we fell right into the Yo Mama jokes.
Yes. Yeah, no, I that was my first Frankenstein. That was my first audacious
love
thought
that show,
maybe
man.
I could be a producer too, and then I create this thing and MTV says yes.
I loved it.
But speaking of all the, origin stories and all of that, I think about, our culture, and I think about the likability.
The
The
likability.
The likability of all of us somehow ended up embracing a life of, entertainment. What was that moment for you? Just kind of getting down to it. Like, what was that moment for you that you were like, oh, I want to be an actor?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this is the absolute 100% truth. I really wasn't good at anything else. And I'm dead serious. I feel like I started acting when I was like 13, and I feel like it's such a crucial age where you're trying to find yourself and you're trying to find your identity. And I had cousins who were studious, and I had friends who were athletes, and so on and so forth. And I just wasn't really good at any of that stuff. And it wasn't until I found acting and I found the arts that I really found what I felt was my calling, which was in contrast to what my parents had planned for me, right? My parents migrated from Puerto Rico to Chicago, didn't speak English, and I don't know if you experienced this with your parents, but definitely like one-track mind, right? Came from Puerto Rico to Chicago, worked, raised their kids, wanted their kids to go to school, wanted their kids to get jobs, lead a normal life, and then here I come, like quiero hacer un artista.
And they said,
I want to be
what
an
is
artist.
that?
Yeah, what is that? It's a hobby, because there was so many plays and so much stuff I was doing in Chicago at that time. And it wasn't until I started to do it professionally that they started to see that I could actually pay the rent
with
doing it.
Yeah,
But it just didn't compute. It didn't compute for a long time. Did you have the same experience?
Pretty similar. I mean, in the sense that we obviously came here to work, right? We came from a different country to
Where'd you guys come from?
Well, we came from Venezuela. So my mother is Colombian, my father's Venezuelan. So but they had met in Miami, and we'll get deep into that later.
Yeah.
But I think the moment that I said to myself, oh, why not acting, right? Was almost by necessity in a weird, weird delusional way. I said
Necessity.
Yeah, necessity. I felt like I was still in high school, right, and but I was always acting, singing, and dancing just for fun. I never did it professionally. And I remember my dad used to drive this Mazda. He would put a for sale sign on the Mazda.
Mazda Miata.
Yeah, something like that. and he would put a for sale sign, and he would use this car to transport mechanic, parts.
Yeah.
From shop to shop. And the for sale sign, he would sell the car for a little profit. Then he would buy another one, a little more expensive, put a for sale sign. Then buy another one, put a for sale sign.
Hustling.
And that car was just hustling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then one day that car got stolen. From in front of the house.
Oh, wow.
And I saw for the first time, the uncertainty and the concern and the fear from my mom and from my dad
because that was the moneymaker.
That was the moneymaker. That was the train, right? And that was
right.
what was getting us by. And while that he was selling that, he was also making some money and using the car. And that was a lifeline. And in Los Angeles, you need a car.
Yeah.
To get around, you need a car. And honestly, that was the moment where I said, when I saw their concern, I said to myself, I got to get in the game. And I was maybe 14, 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I got to do this. And, I remember hearing this commercial. Are you between the ages of 16? What is it?
Oh, man.
Yeah. Are you between the
One
ages
of
of 14 and 16 years
Yeah.
old? Do you think you got what it takes to be a TV personality and commercials and, Saturday morning shows? Then come to the come to the Hilton in LAX and blah, blah, blah. We do a showcase where industry experts. They're going to deem to see if you got what it takes.
If you got it.
Yeah. So I told my dad, and my dad's like, what? What is this? So we showed up to this showcase, and then he was like.
But did you do it before that, or did you just have a natural sort of...
I was doing theater, right? I was singing and dancing, but again, because it was like extracurricular activities in school. That was the why I did it, because it was fun, it was like, and I didn't know how to speak English, so the more I did that, the faster I was learning how to speak English, right?
Yeah.
But the audacity of thinking that you could be that's something that, I think culturally we all have.
Yeah.
But to tap into it takes a certain amount of perfect storms to happen,
Right. Perfect storms, yeah.
So what you say to your family, hey, I want to audition, how does this happen? Did you decide that you wanted to do theater? Or how did you do it?
I sort of stumbled into it. In the Chicago public school systems at that time, the arts were practically non-existent, just to be honest. And so my school had no arts, no sports, nothing extracurricular. And this is a really important point. What happens to kids at that age, if there's no direction, right? If there's nothing that they're necessarily interested in, whether it's the art or sports or something else, then they're susceptible to becoming a product of their environment, okay? And I grew up in Chicago. I grew up in the inner city. I grew up around a lot of gangs, a lot of drugs, a lot of graffiti, a lot of everything that you would imagine is in the urban environment. And I found myself, pretty much going in that direction, or saw that I could have gone in that direction if I had no direction, and my family saw it as well. And so when I discovered acting, I just found my calling. But a lot of that was just because I wasn't good at anything else, And people need to understand that, not every kid is an athlete. Not every kid is a mathematician, You got to find the thing that the 13-year-old kid is good at, and then they'll thrive.
What's that strength, and how do you cultivate that? Right?
Exactly, yeah.
And honestly, this is one of the purposes of where I feel this show could hopefully be a space for, to explore all these ideas and all these thoughts, all these subjects. How do you demystify it, right? Or how do you disarm the thought of any ambition you have. I think that there's so much in culturally that we that we have to kind of fight against, in order for us to break ground or break new environments, or go into new roads, right? Take new chapters that perhaps our family never thought realistic for us,
Right.
So I really hope that this space and this podcast, kind of allows us to, disarm those thoughts, to create a new way of thinking, And I think you think about the generation that we're experiencing right now, and the youngins who are going to carry the torch from whatever we were able to humbly achieve. And I think that's the part of this experiment, and we'd like to invite everyone who's joining us in this podcast to say, hey, like, remember when you used to dream big? You know? Like, is it too late to keep dreaming?
Right.
Bring some friends, but perhaps a third amigo that can inspire you and me, into other ways, that can hopefully translate into inspiration for others.
Yeah.
And this is a show for everyone, and we hope that everyone really, really enjoys it.
Yeah, this is a show for everyone. I want to hear other people's journeys as well, whether you're in the entertainment industry or not. I want to know what that journey is like, and how culturally that's impacted you, and how that steered your journey, or whatever decisions you made in that journey.
Yeah, and what life hacks, what ways can you hack the life that was perceived or stereotypically given to you?
Yeah.
And how do you break that apart and say, hey, I'm going to rewrite a new chapter? Like, how can we do that? And then, also, let's make sure this is fun, let's not make it too serious.
Too serious,
because that's just who we are. I think one thing I can say about, Latinos is that when things get a little complicated, we don't complain about it. We turn the music a little louder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fellas, I had a question real quick. How did you two meet? Because this is like a dope friendship, and I know it's been years in the making, and I just want to see, like, when was the first time y'all connected and knew, like, okay, this is going to be like a brother for like life or something like that? Like, how did you all come across each other?
I mean, that's a great question. That's a great question. I'd say, well, you should go first, because there was multiple instances in my life when you and I crossed paths where it's like, this is my brother.
I remember I was doing a show, I want to say 1998, maybe 99. And I remember you came to visit a friend, and you came on set, and I think I was shooting at Sony or something. And I remember the hair person or the makeup person said, hey, you see that guy? He's a Latino actor like you. And I remember them specifically pointing you out as you walked in and you said hello to your friend. And at that point, I really hadn't met too many other Latina actors in Hollywood, man. I really felt alone.
Right.
As a lot of the journey has been rather lonely, And I just remember looking at you and going like, oh, whoa, there's somebody else like me, you know. And then I believe your show came out after, and obviously seeing you on that, I was incredibly proud to see you doing your thing. And then I just remember being out and us having mutual friends and meeting through mutual friends. I remember seeing you, I don't know if it was Conan O'Brien or whatever, and you were dancing salsa.
It was Conan, yeah.
And I was like, he dances salsa? Get out of here, man. Like, I grew up dancing salsa merengue, and that you spoke Spanish. And which is crazy, you tell me that Spanish was your first language and you didn't speak English, because your English was so impeccable. I would have never guessed that you only spoke Spanish. So there were a lot of elements that you possessed that I felt very familiar to me, and you just felt like somebody that I had grown up with, And then when we actually met and we started talking, I was like, this guy's the coolest freaking guy in the world, man, And every time as I said in the beginning of the show, every time we talked, it was always like 3-4 hours, and we always just just enjoyed each other's company.
Well, mine is very similar. I think, first of all, I remember seeing you at 6 Feet Under, and I was like, and then see your Rodriguez, Rodriguez in the credits. And I was like, and I'm telling you, what you say to me, I feels incredibly, just telling of the environment and the climate in which we're coming up as performers. You know, I didn't have anything else to compare ourselves to, right? And there was like maybe a few of us on network TV and cable TV, and you know, when I saw you in 6 Feet Under, and you were, I mean, incredible in that. Then I realized I started then seeing you in so many other movies before that that I was like, oh, this is the same guy I liked in this movie. This is the same guy I liked in that project. And so to me, it was like just to see that almost created this mirage that like we weren't just the one person in the room, right? Like we weren't like the only Latino on the show, the only Latino in the movie. And it made me realize that I wasn't that alone. But you know, it goes full circle to say like, you know, the moment I met you, you're and you know, you were unapologetically Latino, and I was like, dude, like it's really it was really beautiful to see that. And I'd say, you know, to your point, some of these conversations that we were having, you know, kept untapping and unraveling some of like the many layers that we have never been allowed to talk about, because you know, you get kind of cornered into, you know, promote the show and, you know, talk about why the show and about your character. And you never have the space to kind of talk a little bit about what it took for you to have the tools that you did. And back then, you were doing some of the most pop culturally moments in history. And I remember seeing you go through the Alma Awards and whatever. And I was like, of course. I mean, like you were absolutely lifting our community for so long. And but there weren't that many of us, so the signal was like just brewing, you know, like we were just making the noise, you know. And but you were part of these, you know, this community that was like just breaking ground for all of us, and it was more than proud. I was just wanted to be like that. I just wanted to continue to aspire to do that, you know. And but it was our conversations, and I remember when I truly fell in love with Freddy Rodriguez was when we were on a flight to London.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And we ended up sitting together, like just randomly, and I'm like, oh, Freddy, nice to see you, and like, and you're like the same. And then we did not take one blink of a nap. As from the moment we boarded to the moment we landed to the moment we got our bags, we were talking. I don't know how long that flight was, like 13 hours.
Like 13 hours.
It was 13 hours. And we
London.
Talked about all of it. And that's when I knew, you know, you're going to be my family for life.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I received that. And you know what's interesting about that? You know, us talking like that for 13 hours, I mean, what does that say? It says that there's a lot that we were holding back, right? Like
how much we needed it. Yeah.
Yeah, how much. I don't want to say it's like a therapy session, but it goes to show that at least as I'm speaking for myself, you know, like I didn't really have too many other people that I can talk to like that understood the journey, that understood the steps, that understood starting how we started and what it was to be there. You said something a minute ago that was really interesting. A lot of the projects that we've done, we're always the only Latino in that project, you know, and that gets lonely, man, right? You know, you go from movie to movie, show to show, and you're always the only Latino person, you know, and you don't have somebody else there that you can relate to or talk to, and so then when you get on a plane to London for 13 hours, it's like, I gotta let it all out. I've been holding all this in. I gotta let it out.
Yeah, but there was a lack of community, right? There was a lack of awareness, you know, and we were all, you know, lone rangering this thing in different directions, right? We were segregated from each other, and not allowed to technically commute artistically, because you're right, like tokenly, you know, we were placed in different projects. And by the way, we were also able to play against stereotypes in so many different ways, you know, and some of that stuff. So it's pretty unbelievable. For me, it was like, you know, I had an accent. So when I was looking at you as a Latino and you did not have an accent, but also spoke Spanish, I was like, I got to be like this guy, because I literally couldn't shake my accent. And I think for right now, I think you could probably hear that I decided to give up on that quest to give, you know,
but it was never, but I never felt it was like at the forefront.
Yeah, it wasn't strong enough to be denied in jobs, but it also wasn't like clean enough to play, you know, the full American guy, you know. But I mean, to your point, I think having our journeys, you know, clash in this way, and for us to be able to historically record these moments and say like we can leave this behind, not just for our children, but humbly to those who are next. And there's a beautiful community out there that has been waiting for this space. And I dare to say they're inheriting a space that's so much more open, so much more marketable, so much more fruitful. And I think the idea that this podcast can start this conversation in many ways on that level, it's amazing. And I invite everybody in the studio system in Hollywood and all other industries to kind of discover, how much of a partner this community can be.
How much of a partner, how vast our audience is, how big our audience is, the audience that's going to tune in to listen to this, the audience that has followed us for the last 30 years and have watched all our things.
And we're going to talk about all those things. We're going to bring all of our friends, to come and validate these stories. Don't take it just from us. But the idea that we can bring other individuals that were part of that journey, and also individuals that may be part of the journey we're going next. And we hope that everyone enjoys it. And that leads me to my next wondrous question. We've been able to talk a little bit of like the inspiration, what kicked our butts into artistry, know. But I think a lot of people have not had the opportunity to hear who is Freddy Rodriguez. Like, where do you come from? Who are your parents? Who were you as a kid? Who were you as a student? What things happened in your life that kind of shape what Freddy Rodriguez is today? Because all the way up to artistry, there's a whole lifetime that happens that played a factor in the choices you make as an actor, in your views, in your philosophies of life. And I love to hear that.
Well, thank you. I hope we have another episode in us. Maybe we'll.
Well, look at that. We got to refill our cup.
Got to refill the cup.
And we welcome everyone to episode 2. Who is Freddy Rodriguez?
Salud.